Hello, everyone, everybody. Thank you for being here. This is the day that the Lord has made. We will rejoice and be glad in it. Well, we like to seek the truth and then bring you the proof. That's what we're going to do today. And today, what we are going to do is celebrate our speakers for the GT Summit, which is September the 20th and the 21st. And it's going to be on the Gulf Coast, the Mississippi Gulf Coast. And I am so excited about it because we're going to be talking about generational turnaround. And we're really, really in our heart, we know that there's some things that's going on right now between every generation. I want to make that very clear. I'm not just talking about Z's or millennials. I'm talking about every generation. There's something that's happening. And we all know that this is Satan's time. We all know that this is the end of his time. And there's some things that some low blows that he is he's doing to everybody across the board, but mainly it's noticeable with the young people because, the idea of going to church is not one of their priorities. Not saying that they do not believe in God, but there's no unity within the families where everybody used to kind of do things together, especially going to church, and that's not that's not happening so much. But I had a guest who had another interpretation of it, and I'd like to bring her in because she's done a lot with the younger people. She's raised a lot of younger people, and we don't bring her in for her perspective on what's going on because she is going to be one of the speakers in the generational turnaround, or as we like to call the GT Summit. So let me get her on here. Just a minute here. Let me get us all right. Let's see. Let's get us on together. Consuelo. Let's see. All right. Y'all, please forgive my background. I don't know how to take it off, but we're not gonna let it get in the way of what we're talking about, okay? So, Consuelo, how are you?
I'm blessed, well, and highly favored, ma'am. How are you
Uh,
doing? How's everybody doing this evening?
oh my God, I am so good. I am so good to be every time you are here with me. I get a whole new attitude because you know, once you get to talking, I'm gonna be quiet and I'm gonna just glean. I'm just gonna have.
Man,
Yeah, you leave so many nuggets when you come on. And then for you to say yes to being a speaker on the hmm, GT Summit, yeah.
yes,
Well,
ma'am.
you know what? I always have to read your bio, and it's no different now. I know that a lot of people who's joining who has not heard your bio, who don't know who I have sitting next to me. So I'm going to do that. Consuelo, my guest speaker at the GT Summit, is known for her transformative message of self-care and self-love. Her uplifting approach aims to inspire individuals to prioritize their well-being, embrace their true selves, and make positive changes that will ultimately lead to a fulfilling and purposeful life. Consuela's insight and guidance will undoubtedly contribute to the summit mission of bridging the gap between parents and children and creating a more supportive environment for families. Now, Consuelo, as we so lovingly call you,
Yes, ma'am.
how close did I come to that being you?
Well, I'm going to tell you that everything that you just said is from your own personal experience with me. It's from when I very first did the podcast with you last year. Because this is the second year that I've actually been on your podcast, but because of the Clubhouse streets and the history that we have, that I'm actually honored to have you speak those words over me, considering the fact that my own family, the people that I came from, they wouldn't say the things that you say because they don't know the person that I've become now because of everything that they instilled in me. That's why I tell people we have to deprogram, reprogram this generational turnaround. It's a blessing for me. It's a blessing for everyone that I grew up with. It's a blessing for everyone that I helped raise and for people that are even coming behind me just because of how you introduced me and how you feel is the same way a lot of people on Clubhouse feels about me. And it's just because of the change that I made in my life, regardless of where I came from. And that's part of the generational turnaround. Regardless of where you came from, regardless of what you've been through, what kind of hell, trials, or tribulations, God has the final say. And as long as you don't give up on yourself, because my own family, my own parents told me that I would never amount to anything. And now look, Miss Judy Ambrose James gave me the opportunity last year to speak on her platform. And I've been asked to come back over and over again. It's a blessing. Scary, very fearful, but I'm stepping out on faith. And I'm grateful to have you and thank you.
There you are. You are who you are. I didn't make anything up from the moment that I came into your room at Clubhouse. It was like a kindred spirit. And when you introduced me and we talked just for a little bit, that's all I needed. And when you start talking about young people, and you young yourself, but you talk from your heart. And when the rest of us are kind of saying, but these young people, let me tell you, if you come back with, but let me tell you what you don't know. let me tell you what I have experienced with young people. And let me tell you that you've got to bring the parents in here.
Yes.
So I want you to tell my guests, my viewers,
Hmm.
what you have told me in the past about where we are in this generation of turnaround.
Well, okay, so what we need to do to fix this is to actually we need to display love. We need to show compassion and nurturing instead of that do as I say, not as I do. I brought you in this world, I take you out. That's a control technique that's been around for a long, long time. Instead of giving children the opportunity to be heard, giving them the opportunity to understand that they are a person and that they do have the right to be heard and to be loved. So listen to your children and understand. I mean, when I say listen, listen and understand. We just had this conversation in the meeting last night. Listen and understand. There's a difference when you listen and you ignore, but when you listen and you understand that the change needs to be made, understand that the change is within the house, and stop blaming everyone else for the things that we need to teach our own children, because our children are our responsibilities. We want to blame the schools for taking prayer out. Okay, that's fine. But the school didn't have the children. So since the school didn't have the children, it's the parents' responsibility to teach the children everything that they need to know. Why aren't we praying over our own children before we send them out? We want everyone else to pray, pray, but why aren't you praying for your own children? Now, if you can go out and if you can, and I'm going to go ahead and, you know me, Miss Judy, I'm going to keep it real. But if you can go out, if you can pray for that job, if you can pray for that car, if you can pray for that man, if you can pray to hit the lottery, how can you not pray for your children? How come you cannot pray for discernment, for knowledge, for wisdom, and stop controlling your children? Give them the opportunity to use their brain, because when you start telling children, well, you do this because I told you, you do this because I had you and you have to, guess what? You strip them of their common sense. So when people are saying these kids don't have common sense, well, probably because they came from a controlling parent, and that parent stripped that child of their common sense. So we're going to have to get back to where the root problem is, and that's control. A lot of parents want to control their children because they were never able to control their own life.
No, you didn't. Indeed.
Well, I've heard a lot of children scream out when no one's listening. I've heard a lot of children say, I don't want to continue. I mean, starting at the age of 6, 7 years old, I've heard children say, I don't want to live anymore. I've heard children say, I'm tired of being treated like I'm a grown person. I might as well start paying bills. This is at an early age. And even from my own experience, I had to learn how to, I had to start driving at the age of 8. And I had to start driving my family around basically by the age of 10. By the age of 11, I was driving everyone out of town. So that's why I can understand and I can relate to a lot of things that these kids, go through. Um,
Wait. Did you say 8, 11, 10?
yes, ma'am.
Why were you driving so early?
Because of the family that I came from. It was either me drive them home safely, or they kill all of us in a car accident because they were drunk. So that's why I say I can relate to a lot of things that, especially when it comes to the dysfunction that, that a lot of these kids go through now. I can relate to the anger. I can relate to the frustration. I can relate to a lot of that stuff. But that's what made me go ahead and do the room on Clubhouse, is because I want the younger generation to know, and even the older generation. I want everyone to know, just because you were dealt, the hand that that you were dealt, that does not mean that you have to live in it. That does not mean you have to stay in it. You can overcome it, but you have to deprogram, reprogram, and you have to change your mind frame. Season, reason, lesson, blessing. I have all of these sayings, and this is what I live by right now to this day. And this is what keeps a lot of us going in the house on Clubhouse, is because I practice what I preach. I really do, just because of the hell that I've been through. Every child that I've helped, I've reached out to. I even have some kids now that I'm dealing with. The youngest one, she's 2. She's 2 years old. That's the youngest one that I'm working with right now, and I won't stop. I will not stop. And it used to frustrate me, because looking at me, you won't think that I'm almost 50 years old. But it used to frustrate me. I'm like, why do I have to look like this? But someone a couple of weeks ago, they said, the reason why God maybe has you looking like that? And I said, no, can you tell me the reason why? And they said, look at what you do. You deal with a lot of the younger generation. You have to look like them in order to fit in, because if you didn't look like them, they probably wouldn't even start to listen to your story, to even believe what you were going through. And I was like, that could be it. So I embrace it now. When people say, hey, kid, I'm like, okay, yeah, I take it and I just embrace it. But yeah, so
Well, considering all that you've been through, and yet still take the time out and help. And from what I understand, just talking to you, a lot of children, considering their parents and what they were going through, you still took the time out and say, I was that child. I'm not going to leave a child behind when I know exactly what's going on with them and where they're going to end up if I don't help. Is that what you're feeling?
well, I ended up becoming the person that I wish I would have had in my life.
Mm,
That's exactly what happened, because there was a lot of times that, now don't get me wrong, the village raised me, and my my
mm,
family, my family, they were there. My family, my mother, my mother was there, my grandmother was there. My pops was there until I was 11. Once he got remarried, he just forgot I even existed. So
mm.
but I really wish that people would have listened when I was younger, because every time I tried to talk to someone and tell them something that was happening, or even what I wanted to accomplish, in life, no one listened to me, because first off, I wasn't supposed to be born. My mother wasn't supposed to have me. So since she had me and she wasn't supposed to, I was reminded of that daily for the first 15 years. And I left home when I was 15 because I got tired of hearing it. That's when I went to the streets and I started to self-destruct. That's because I thought I was hurting them, but I was actually hurting myself. And that's what I tell people. I can relate to a lot of things when people, they're talking about these. I didn't raise my kids like this, and mine, and but how did you speak at your kids? You maybe did not raise your kids like that, because I was raised, a person from the outside looking in, they would have probably thought that my sister and I had the lavish life that, well, not just lavish, but we got what we wanted. We didn't want for anything, but the verbal abuse, the lack of nurturing, the lack of compassion. You know, a lot of people don't understand that that is sometimes worse than physical abuse. When you don't nurture your child or you don't show your child compassion, what are you showing them? And you know what? And sometimes that's where you end up with a lot of these young ladies. They start running to the streets and they start sleeping around with a lot of people because they're looking for that compassion. They're looking for that nurturing. They want that love because they never had it. And now they're being called a prostitute. Now they're being called a slut. Now they're being called a whore. And I don't mean to be like this, but that's what causes a lot of it. And it's just because the lack of love that these children get at home. And but then the mother wants to say, well, I did my best. But did you read your child a bedtime story? Did you, when your child fell and scraped their knee or something, did you go and get some ointment and clean it up and clean, put the ointment on and put a band-aid? Or did you just say, oh, you'll be all right, gone because I'm busy? Careful and
Yeah.
mindful of these things, because kids remember who pays attention and who does not pay attention. Those things stick. And then they wonder why, oh, well, they're acting like they don't care. Well, did you show them that you really care? Did you stop living your life to say, hey, I'm going to give you the time that you need right now?
And so this it passed on from one generation to another generation. And so we have all of these young men and young women who don't know what it feels like to really be loved and show love.
Yes, ma'am.
And I know I agree with you completely, because when my time around and learning about young people, they want, really want to be taken and loved and taught. And
Yeah.
now, but now we're in a generation that they've got these thick skins, uh, and they they almost say it's too late. What do we do about that? I mean, they're saying, I didn't get it when I was young. Now I got to go ahead and get mine by any means necessary. What
That,
do you know that story?
that by any means necessary is a very dangerous thing.
Mhm.
And it's very sad because where I live at currently, I see all of these young ladies. Well, I'm not gonna say all of them, but a lot of these young ladies, they are getting it by any means necessary. But the saddest part about it is they do not understand that they are hurting themselves more. It's more self-destruction. And that's what I want people to know. And that's the reason why I tell people my story, because I thought I was hurting them. I'm getting them back.
Mhm.
They didn't teach me this. They didn't love me. Well, you know what? Okay. Now it's time for me to love myself. I
Yeah.
have to love myself, because if I keep allowing them to control me, not learning to love myself, they are going to continue to win. And this is one of the, it's a bittersweet moment about my story, but the majority of my family, the ones that hindered me, are no longer living. And so therefore, if they were here, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be with you right now, Miss Judy. I wouldn't be in Clubhouse. Um, I've understood the beauty for my mother's ashes, and that is my freedom. My freedom of me learning that I had to deprogram and reprogram because of the things that my mother actually taught me. I want to say, was out of fear of her own mother, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Yeah.
that generational fear. I can't live my life the way I want to live. I have to live because do as I say, not as I, as I, well, yeah, you know
Yeah.
what I'm saying.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. That, and I brought you in the world. I take you, all of that stuff. It was just rolled down from one generation to the next. And my mother was like that. So she lived in a very fearful life. So do you remember the song, that one song that I sent you? And I was talking to you about the words of the song and how my mother expressed her love through music. So after I sent you that song that day, I've been listening to nothing but the songs that my mother and I would listen to. One of them, another one is Caravan of Love by Isley Jasper Isley. All of
Mm-hmm.
the songs that she played with me is for this time right now in my life.
Mm-hmm.
So she
Yeah.
told me that I wasn't gonna be this because of my dad's side of the family, because the way his side of the family is. um she knew, but she also couldn't tell me because my grandmother didn't like my dad. And because my grandmother didn't like my dad, my mother couldn't show me love. So this is what I'm saying. I'm understanding all of this. And some people need to understand that parents do what they are only obligated to do because they operate out of fear. Not being able to stand on your own and believe in God and allow God to carry you and guide your steps. As long as we keep depending on people, family,
Say that.
friends,
There
and
you
all
go.
the things, we will hurt the people closest to us, even our own children. My mother neglected me and didn't show me love out of the hurt from her own mother.
Okay.
She did not understand that I was going to be the one child that was going to be there the whole time.
Now that's see this generational thing, but that's generational. And I'm just gonna tell you when when let me turn this.
Okay. Well, I don't know where you want me to start at. But anyway, it's just, one of those things that we have to look at ourselves. Everything starts with us. And again, it starts with the deprogram, reprogram. Understand that some of those things that they taught us, it's not for us. We have to look in the mirror and say, is this life what's really for me? Because God gives us talents. God gives all of us talents. We can't serve two gods. And what I mean by we can't serve two gods, because if we keep trying to make our parents happy and appease them, then what are we doing with the talents that God has given us, that He instilled in us? So are we supposed to live the life and worship our parents as gods? Or do we just respect our parents as parents and then we worship God as God? Because without Him giving us life or giving us our talents, what would we be and where would we be? But you have to understand who you are, whose you are, and where you came from, where you're going through, and where you're going to all at the same time. But
You also have to, God put children into our lives to guide them and to, make sure that their needs are taken care of. But doing that, we have to make some decisions on their behalf that they may not agree with. they're not going to agree with. So this about asking, allow them to be themselves, yes, because that's where they're going to find their purpose. But then we can't just say, well, whatever that whatever the decisions are, is that's what we ought to do. You're not saying that, are you?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am. No, ma'am. No, that's one of those common sense actions. But, and it's not to say, okay, well, I'm just going to let my child do any and everything. Um, because a lot of people thought that that's how my mother was raising me. Honestly, a lot of people was like, your mother would just let you do anything and she'll let you just run wild. And no, actually, she wouldn't. I had to be at home when the street light went out. you know I had to come home, I had to do chores, I had to do things that the normal child would do, but I just wasn't told what to do, if that makes sense. I was not told, like, and even when they did tell me to do something, I had the option to ask them a question if I thought it was something that was concerning or could jeopardize my safety. I could, considering the fact the way I grew up, you know, um, yeah, I was put in a lot of situations that really could have got me hurt as a child. And it was
Mm-hmm.
all of my parents, my guardians, my mother, my grandmother, and my pops, the things, and their neighbors, crawling through windows and stuff, and stuff like that. I was put in a bunch of situations that the average child was like, probably, yeah. But Miss Judy, I did not realize how complicated my life was until I got on Clubhouse and I started speaking about it, and people was like, wow, wow. So
And it seems like it's the norm for what you saying, what you went through. So it wasn't the norm, but it gives you is why you have that opinion about a child should be heard, and a child should make some decisions on his own, because you have to do that.
yeah, I
You
had to.
have to
I had
decide. You have to decide if this is going to be detrimental to your life if you make that decision. And was that because of the alcohol that your family
well, okay, so on my
you to drive?
okay, so on my pop side of the family, it was yes, it was the alcohol. It was alcohol and violence on my pop side of the family.
Mhm.
Um, well, I guess I can say on both sides, because my grandmother. So my grandmother had rent houses back then, and when people didn't pay her rent, it was whatever happened. And if the person called themselves changing the locks or whatever, I was the one that had to crawl through the window to let everyone in to go do the dirty business. So that's why I was like, and I saw some things. I saw some things,
And so yeah, you had to make those decisions because you knew exactly what could happen. And even though you may still end up having to do what you were told, but
Yes,
you still had to ask. And that's, to me, that's why you say children should be have the right to ask,
yes.
say what they feel about something that their parents are asking them to do.
Right. And then not only that, dealing with a lot of kids, if parents were to listen to the child before they send their children off, some of the bad things that happen to children, it wouldn't happen if they listen previously, because warning comes before destruction. And a lot of kids know bad people. So if you see your child, that's resisting someone, and you said, oh, I have to go to work anyway, even that daycare worker, we have to be careful with that too,
Mm,
because it's something about that person that that child is either not feeling, or that person may have did something already.
no. All
So,
right.
but because life happens and parents are so busy, and they think that, oh, this child just wants my attention, but I have to go to work, or I just have to get to the cell phone, or whatever the situation may be, that child is warning you. But sometimes, because I've been there. I've been in situations to where things have happened, and the parent was warned. They were warned in the beginning, but life happened, and they
Mm,
had to do what they had to do to, survive. And then
mm,
when things happen, it's like, whoa, now everything has to stop. And it's like, well, I wish I would have. Well, when are we going to start paying attention to our children? When are we going to get out of the world and start paying attention? Because I know when we were growing up, and I was born in the 70s, when I was growing up, if you went like this, they saw you from way in the kitchen, and they were, what are you scratching? Do you need to go to the doctor? Are you okay? Now these kids can be right here in the parents' face, and snot could be running and everything, and 110-degree temperature, and the parents have this phone to move. Now you see them, they don't pay attention.
mm. Well, all of this that you're saying, what I'm getting out of it is that we've got to get to know our children better. We've got to be able to recognize when they are giving you a sign, when they're frightened, just by the way that they look. Not They don't have to go out there and jump out in front of a car to make you get your attention. They need We need to know our children so closely
Yeah.
that we recognize without a sign saying help. They're showing on TikTok where these people are women, especially with a man, and they're trying to ask for help, and they actually got the word written on their leg or written on something.
Mm.
They have to go through those extremes for people to recognize, because they can't tell any other way.
Miss Judy, have you noticed that when you do come into the room on Saturdays, I listen to everyone, and if someone's voice is not right, I will call them out. I will say, you know what?
Yes,
I don't mean to call you out, but I hear that you are not yourself.
yes,
I listen.
that's what
This
I'm
is
talking about.
this is going on 2 years that I've been running that house, that I opened that house for everyone. It's not for me, it's for everyone. I'm just being obedient and doing what I'm supposed to do. But when my family members, because I call them my family members, but when my family members come in, and it could be someone that I hadn't even heard from in 7 to 8 months, but I know my family, and I know when something's not right.
Mhm.
And when my clubhouse family's not right, then I know that I have to tighten down myself, because being a leader, and when people look at you as a leader, when you fall short, everyone falls short.
Mhm.
And
Right.
when my family, when my team starts to sound not right, is when I know it's time for me to start meditating more. It's time for me to start praying more. It's time for me to
Mhm.
start saying, okay, What am I doing wrong in order for my team to fall short? Because, and that's family.
And
That's
that's
one thing.
right.
That's family. And that's how we need to get our own blood family back together. We
Mm.
need to understand when the voice is not right. We need to understand when the phone calls are starting to become less. We need to understand when our family member needs us, we need to understand, hey, I need to be there. So that's that generational turnaround. So if
That's it.
start by showing people on Clubhouse the love, which is self-love, self-care awareness that they need to go out into the world for everyone else to love them, because unconditional love is what we are missing. We don't need this love with conditions anymore. All of this, I'm not going to love you because you're not doing this. I'm not going to love you because you don't go to this church. I'm not going to love you because you sleep with this person. Unconditional love, because you know what? Whoever you believe in, God, higher power, Jesus Christ, loves us all unconditionally. So
Unconditional.
that back. And once we get that back and we start putting that love back into the family
Yes.
instead of the hate and the dishonesty and the distrust and the disloyalty. What happened to morals, respect, and loyalty? We don't even
Okay.
have that.
Say that right there.
Loyalty, respect, and morals. What happened to self-respect? I mean, again, self-respect. If you do not love yourself, oh,
Mhm.
wait a minute, hold on, Miss Judy. People don't love themselves because they're out there trying to get the bag. The bag
That's
is
right.
important. The bag is more important than loving yourself,
Yeah.
because the bag has more value.
Yes. And whatever you value.
They want everything that brings misery. That value brings misery because it brings loneliness. It brings loneliness. It really does.
Mhm. You know what? This conversation is just a, a, a little bit of what we're going to be talking about. But let me tell you, we don't want to let it all out. But when we come to the Mississippi Gulf Coast, we're not coming with a lot of questions. We're coming with solutions. We're coming with tried and tested results that we can share with you, the viewers. We want you to come to be an attendee because I have 16 speakers from every every walk of life. They've been through it all. And but they didn't stop. They didn't let it stump them. Their body slowed down, but they did not stop. And that's what they are going to share with you. And like the Suelo, yeah, she had a good time. She had some bad time. She had some uh, times that she didn't know if she was coming or going. And I know we all had some of those, but we we did what we did. That's it. Now, I'm not saying we were perfect and we handled it perfectly.
yeah.
But these young people right now, you all watch the news. You all see what's happening. You see how many young people we are losing by the day. And there's towns, small towns that could say at one time that never happens here.
Oh, but not now.
That's in, yeah, that's in the city. That don't happen here. Well, Twayla, what about that?
Oh, not now, because I'm in a small town now. I came out of the city and I've been here almost 3 years, and I'm leaving in June. I'm leaving soon because I cannot do this. I cannot do this small town stuff because the drug activity and the prostitution is so sad. It is so sad here. And that's why I was like, the the poverty level. I mean, where I'm located right now, I it's that sad. I mean, it's just like because the poverty level is so bad. Some of these jobs here are literally still $8 an hour. So yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Some of these jobs are still. When I moved here 3 years ago, my mind frame had to go back 30 years to even really try to hold a conversation, and that's why I don't mingle. I don't. I It's sad.
But Consuelo, you helped people even in the town where you are now. You try
Yes.
to help.
Yes, I do. So I do have my small group of people on the other side of town, that, like I was supposed to go meet someone tonight at 8. And I was like, well, I'm doing the podcast, so it might be about 8:15, 8:20. But yeah, especially the young men. I love talking to the young men to let the young men know that it's okay to embrace your emotional side, because when I moved out here is when I realized a lot of men are suicidal. A lot of men are they have too much. Men are living on a we are robots, we are programs because I have to do this, I have to do that. I am a man, and if I don't do this, I'm not a man. Okay, so but they have nerves, they have emotions, they have bone structure, they bleed, they need food and water just like the rest of us, the women, the rest of us, the same things men need too. They need love, they need compassion, they need nurturing, the same way that woman says, oh, he didn't ask me how my day went. He needs the same thing. He might try to act like he's macho and he doesn't need it, but when he gets behind that closed door, or when that wife is away or something, that man might be breaking down saying, why just can't she love me the way that I love her? Why can't she give me the same support that I give her? It's a two-way street. And what I've seen since 1992 is that men carry too much. They carry way too much.
Because all the conversation for the women they are not getting what they need from a man. That I mean, there's a lot of conversations, a lot of rooms that's the word that women are not getting their needs met. And you saying same for men.
Yeah, it's a two-way street. It really is. It's a two-way street because, like I said, men are supposed to be this macho, whatever. But at the same time, if the trash isn't too heavy, how come a woman can't take it out? Because if she lived alone, she had to. She would have
And
to.
I'm gonna have to know me and you, and we do.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. There's a lot of things that women they they take advantage of that man being there just because he's there. And now that man is swamped with having to bring home the bacon. He's swamped with having to pretend that everything's okay when he's crumbling on the inside, but he does not have the support that he needs. And he can't go to a psychiatrist or a therapist because then he's going to be labeled weak. He's going to be labeled crazy. Oh, well, I'll just go give me a real man. Well, how did you just make him feel?
Yeah, yeah. And
It's
we,
sad.
especially our brothers. I'm gonna put that out here. Our black men uh, will not show the truth about what's going on with them because they don't want to be labeled or disappoint the woman. Is, do you feel that that may be one of the reasons, the
Well,
disappointment?
but see, I don't know, but I'm gonna tell you, when I moved here, that's when I found out that there was a lot of suicidal black men. When I moved here,
Mm,
is and the church that I was going to, it was almost every black man I ran into was suicidal.
mm.
They would go down to the altar and they would just break and they just wanted to just end their whole life. They were just washed up. They were ready to go.
So, so our black men has gotten to the point where they are being suicidal.
It's actually been like that for a long time, but um it's just not really talked about because like the average man that I ran into that was like that was like I want to say my age, around 48 and above. Very, very suicidal. And it's just because of, all of the responsibilities, and life is very, very hard when you have every responsibility on your plate and you can't do anything about it. The reason why they can't do anything about it is because they are not happy within and they don't know who they are. They don't, but I mean, because you're just living a life that somebody told you you were supposed to live.
What about the disrespect of children?
When it comes to which part of it?
The
Which
the father, the husband, the watching the way that mom treats him, and the children start to treat him that same way. Is that something to do with maybe something to do with the feeling of suicide?
that very much well could be, or it could be, like I said, just them, just kids just picking up what they hear and what they see. Because I'm watching. Okay, so let me see. It's three kids involved in this situation right now, right? Okay, so it's two adults and three kids. So the guy is not a father to any of the kids. Um, he's good to all of the children. In front of him, everyone respects him, but
Mm,
behind his back, just because of what the mother does behind his back, the children disrespect him behind his back.
that's
So,
what I'm talking about.
so in all honesty, do they really respect that man? No. No, because if they respected that man, they wouldn't entertain the other man behind his back.
Mm, okay.
If you have this man here taking care of you, and this is where your milk and water and bread and everything comes from. If you respect him, you're not going to entertain mama's other fling because you're not going to mess up what is feeding you. So if you have that respect, you're not going to every time mama goes, because and I'm speaking from my own experience, because every time my pops wanted to go with his other women, I wasn't having it. You wasn't disrespecting my mother. I was falling out. I was acting crazy. I was acting no, I had a fit. You were not taking me around those women because that is not you're not disrespecting my mother. My mother, even though she was not there, for the nurturing and the compassion, she took care of me. She went to work every day, and that's why I'm the type of person. Love is an action. My mother showed me she loved me. She didn't tell me she loved me until I was 23 years old. But the action of her love is what kept me understanding that she did love me it was just something wrong. And that's how I know that it was my grandmother that was controlling her.
Well, the generation that turnaround has a lot of work to do. But the bottom line is that there's there's a lot going on with our children and the adults, the parents and the kids. And this world, I'm talking about Black people because that's my people. That's who I've been around. That's who I've seen hurt. That's who I see confused about what am I going to do with my daughter or my son. They're going to the left when they need to be coming to us.
Yes.
So we, at the generational turnaround, we want to go through each generation and see what is that we could bring from that generation that worked, that maybe the next generation say, I don't want my children to go through this, that, and the other because they didn't like the punishment or the choices that was made to keep them safe, but it worked. And compromise, they got compromise in there that the children and the parents can look at and talk to one another about. Just like this social media, this staying on the phone all day, every day, even taking the phone to school and getting in trouble at school.
Hmm.
And the parents are saying, well, my kids need to be able to get in touch with me. So that then gave the kids, the children, an excuse that they're gonna say, my mama bought me this phone so I could always be in touch. But not to use in the classroom. We got to find a somewhere right here where we both can say what's good for me and you, parents and children. And that's what I get when I hear you talk, Suelo, because you're saying listen to the children.
Yes, ma'am. We have to we have to listen to the children. I'm gonna say this, and I know because we're gonna have to end here.
Yeah, yes.
The
Oh
reason
yeah.
why I say listen to the children, I've been put in situations to where I had to be the bearer of bad news to parents. A lot of parents want to blame the adult, and yes, it is the adult fault. But I've had to go to some parents and say, hey, you know what? You need to pay attention to your child because your child is doing things with grown people and they shouldn't do things with grown people. And when they did the research, they found out that I was correct. In some cases, how I found out what was going on is because the child thought that it would be me that would be the person to cross the line with them. And I'm like, no, 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 no. We don't do stuff like that. So again, that's why I tell people, be careful who you have around your children. Because if you know the people that you have around your children, a lot of these situations can be avoided. Because honestly, a lot of people that hurt your children the most are the one that's closest to you because we don't do the research and the background checks. Again, kids try to tell us in the beginning when they start screaming and they don't want to go close to those people. And then next thing you know, oh, well, just go to them. I have to go to the bathroom. And next thing you know, something's happening. Pay
Mhm.
attention to your children and stop forcing your children on the people. You take care of your own responsibilities. You made them, you had them, you take care of them. They are yours to take care of. And that's all I got.
And thank you. Thank you. Well, thank you for being open. Thank you for caring about the children that have been put in your immediate life. And thank you for saying yes to GT Summer in September the 20th and the 21st. This was just a little taste of what it's going to be when you come to the summit, to the generational turnaround summit. Everybody, we all need to join together and take back the family. You need a family as God, who gave us Adam and Eve so that they could make a family, and as we all have done. So I pray that today was better for you than yesterday, but not as good as tomorrow. I pray that tomorrow we're gonna we all gonna get together at the generational turnaround summit and help one another in whatever area God has blessed us with the wisdom, the knowledge, and the understanding to make a difference. So thank you, Suelo.
Thank you, Miss Judy.
Again and again. And I'm looking forward to. We just gonna let everybody know. You gotta let everybody in your clubhouse, in your on your page, everybody, because young people, we need you all to come and get
Yes.
on a panel and let your voice loose. Say whatever you've been holding in, it's going to be your opportunity to, to sing it. So, all right. Good night. Good night. Good night, Suelo.
Good night, Miss Judy. Good night,
I'm sorry.
everyone.
I'm sorry to everybody about the mix up in our background, but it'll be right next time. They know everybody know that I'm having the worst time with this technology, but I'm gonna get it.
But you doing it though. You are
Yes,
doing it. You are
yes,
doing
I am. So thank you and good night.
it. Good night. Blessings.
Blessings.